Hi everybody, I'm Erica,
I'm Lexi,
and we want to welcome you back to
the Purpose Cooker.
So we know that so much has happened in the past few weeks. It's actually in the past few months. This is probably one of the most
insane
years ever. And I really thought like last year was like a crazy year, but 2020, I mean, for me personally, it was a crazy year, but as a whole, like what's happening in the world, 2020 is definitely taking the cake. And so we know that the coronavirus is just sweeping through our nation and sweeping through the world. And initially, you know, none of us really knew how serious it was going to be. Everything just kind of escalated really quickly. And so initially, I didn't really look at it from like a spiritual perspective. But as things began to kind of pick up, I was like, I gotta look at this through spiritual lens. And I wanted to know, God, what are you trying to say to your people? What are you trying to say to us? What is this? Because I know that God is sovereign, and I know that, well, he may not inflict certain things on us. He does allow things to happen. And so I wondered, what is this? And so prior to seeing the seriousness of it, me and Lexi were joking around, and she kept telling me, man, I feel like this is like a story out of the Bible. Like I feel like it's a story out of the Bible. What story were you saying that it felt like to you?
So it kind of reminded me of two stories, but I'll start off with the first one. It reminded me of Noah and the flood. And the reason why it reminded me of that first was because of all the raining. At first, with all the virus spreading throughout the world, I was like, okay, that's really, really strange. Okay, first it's China, then we're hearing about Italy, and then, the U.S., and it's just multiplying. And I think my coworker was telling me that India is like insane now too, but just going around the world. And so then all of a sudden it just started raining. It was raining for like, for me, it was like 3 weeks, off and on, every other day. And I was like, this is so weird. Erica reminded me that April showers is like a thing, but I was like, it's not even April yet. It's like end of February, March. I was like, this is really weird. Like all the showers and all the raining.
Well, we've had droughts in California now for the past almost 15 years. Like we've had pretty like dry seasons. Like we don't have rain anymore very much. So when we get rain,
we're like yes, we need it.
Or we act crazy because we're not used to weather here.
That's true. So that's what it reminded me of. And it just reminded me of the story of Noah specifically, because in the story of Noah, God saw that the earth was corrupt. He saw that the earth was corrupt, and he wanted to just get rid of it. He was like, I'm done. I regret even making the humans. He's like, what have I done? I just need to get rid of it. But he saw that Noah was righteous. And so he said to Noah, go ahead and build this ark, and when you build this ark, I'll tell you the rest. So he just gave him little bits and pieces, and Noah obeyed what God said. And so when the time came for Noah and his family, and we all know the animals 2 by 2, even though there was more than just 2 by 2, because it took other animals to sacrifice, but that's another story. But when Noah and his family and the animals got into the ark, God covered the ark, and they were sealed inside. And then came the rain. The rain came and washed the earth clean. And so it reminded me when everything was raining, I was just like, wow, it's so much rain going on. Everybody is being shut inside of their homes. Like even if you wanted to go outside during quarantine, you can't really do much because it's raining. What are you going to do in the rain?
And everything is closed.
So it just reminded me of like, God is really trying to speak to us. And not only that, because in my head, I'm the type of person that's like, are we really about to make everything spiritual? But God was really like, nah, like this, are you sure? There's just been so many situations. People are losing their jobs, and it just breaks my heart so much. People are losing their jobs. Everybody's stuck in the house. You can't do anything. And it just reminded me of how much we sometimes focus on material things, and those things don't even matter. Like, we're all stuck in our house. The only things that we have to depend on right now is food, which is why everybody's going crazy in grocery stores, your faith, and hopefully if you're able to work from home, you have that too. But you literally only have those things.
Or the people that have to actually still go to work. Because there are people
work from home.
No, but there are people who aren't able to work from home.
Yeah, but like
there are a section of people
right,
which
yeah, like
are compromised. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But like the point I was trying to make is so many people, the majority of people, have been shut inside of their home, and you're only left with minimal things. Like, we can't even barely see our friends because we're all quarantined inside of our homes. And so it just reminded me of the things that matter. And so when we get to heaven, what is that going to look like? The only thing that matters is your faith. What you're left with is right now your intentional time with work, but are you intentional with God? And nothing else. You're stripped of work. Some people are stripped of work. Some people have the opportunity to still work from home, but you're stripped of traveling. You can't go travel to other parts of the world because everything's shut down. You're stripped of, driving your vehicle. You could technically do that, but now I hear people are getting pulled over, and actually my company has set up a letter specifically because lots of employees have been getting pulled over by police officers.
That's crazy.
It's because they're not supposed to be on the roads. So I say that to say, like, I feel like God is really trying to grab our attention and be intentional with the time that we have. He's like, hey, I want you to come back to me. I want you to come back to me. And it also reminded me of the story of Job, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything to the last.
No.
No? Okay. And this also reminded me of the story of Job. So Job in the Bible, he was a blessed man. He was deemed as righteous and faithful in the Bible in God's eyes. And so Satan went to God and he said, the only reason why Job praises you is because you have blessed him all your life. Take your hands off of him and see what happens. Let me have at him. Let me see if he still blesses you or still praises you. And so God was like, okay, go ahead. I'll take my hand off of him, but you could do whatever you want except for take his life and see him still, praise me, whatever, right? And so this happens. This takes place. Job loses his family, all his kids. They die. He loses his wife, his friends, his health. Everything is just, he loses land, like literally everything that he thought was deemed as important, he lost it all. And so at the end of the story, we see that God actually restores everything that Job lost. And so Job had a battle of trying to keep his faith and asking God, why is this happening to me? What have I done to cause sin on you, Lord? And at the end, the Lord blesses him. He loves him so much that he gives him more than he had in the beginning. And we can go, I think it's like Job 42. But I really encourage you guys to look at that story because so many of us, a lot of us, especially in the U.S., we live blessed lives and we don't even realize it. That God has had his hand on us and we don't even realize it. But the second he lifts his hands off of it, and you can tell, the second he lifts his hand off you and you start going through trouble, what do you turn to? Are you still blessing God? Because God is not the one who kills, steals, or destroys. God does not take your health. God does not take your job. He does not do any of those things. It's the enemy who comes to steal, kill, and destroy and to wreak havoc on you. But are you still praising God? Because when I think of God and who God is and his character, God is Elohim. He is the creator. He is the one who created this entire earth. He breathes life inside of us. He is such a good father. And so when I think of him and what he is able to do and how creative he is, he created the entire universe.
Right.
Why would he not be able to restore me? He loves me and he does not want to see me fail.
However,
go ahead.
However, the point of it, these are the questions that I had, and actually I read Job at a very interesting season. I regretted reading it afterwards because I was going into the wilderness. And so I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. But obviously you're reading something about somebody who God takes everything or allows everything to be taken away from him. I'm like, God, please don't do that to me. Please don't do me like that. He did. But that's another story for another day. But I always am reminded of the book of James when he says, count it all joy when you stand against, trials and tribulations, because in that your faith is being matured. Yes, and so good. So a lot of times we think, and that was a paraphrase, by the way, guys, so I'll put the actual verse in there. But a lot of times we think that God is good to us because we don't go through anything. But the sheer message of the gospel is one of persecution. And he tells us that to be a believer, you will be persecuted for your faith. So it's not a situation, when we become believers, it does not mean that we have a perfect life. It does not mean that we are without circumstance. That's not what it means. But what it does mean is that we have our eyes fixed here, but also towards eternity. And we know that the things that are happening here are preparing us for eternity and how to bring an eternal type of mindset and lifestyle here on earth. Because the verse says in Colossians, it says, set your mind on things above. Set your mind on things above because you have been raised right with him. It's funny that you mentioned I don't want to over spiritualize it, but as I was reading through Colossians, I did a pretty deep study on Colossians recently, actually yesterday. And as I was going through Colossians, the overall message is reminding us that just because you're a believer now, and just because you have now this new life, and the old you is dead and you're dead to sin, that does not mean that the circumstances change. It means that now you have a new way of thinking, a new way of handling situations. And so your heart and your mind, your will is focused on what the Father desires, how he thinks, what he wants. And so then that allows us to, in these types of seasons, be able to navigate. Because we understand what it means to be crucified, to die to ourselves every day, to pick up our cross, to deal with the things that we're tempted with, to deal with the circumstances around us, and still choose to have faith that our circumstances do not change our status.
And I understand that some people may have this question, because I used to have this question too. Well, why would a good Father, a good God, allow this to happen? And I can't go into that in this video, but you know what? We will make another video on that, because this is a whole sermon on its own. And I wouldn't do it justice in such a short time to break it down, so we'll have to talk about that in another video. But just know that we live in a broken world, and that this is not how we were supposed to be. We were not supposed to live with diseases. We weren't supposed to live with heartbreak. That's why when somebody dies, you feel that pain. You feel the hurt, you grieve, because that was not supposed to happen. That person was not supposed to die. We feel things that we weren't supposed to feel. So, did you want to add anything in regards to the coronavirus? Quarantine life?
So definitely, so as I saw all this happening, I did get this overwhelming feeling of like joy, because I saw the church, I saw God's people, and I saw how God holds us to a different standard, and he is calling his church to step into our position. So that's kind of why I was talking about Colossians, because it's a really good book. It's short, you should read it. I love Paul anyway, so anything he writes is amazing. All the Bible's amazing, but Colossians is a really good book because it reminds us as believers, and I feel like it also really is relatable to like the lifestyle that we live right now. But aside from that, I got excited because I saw the church step up. And I saw that when the church stepped up, he has been calling us.
Yeah.
He has been calling us, and he calls us to intercede for one another, for other people. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I have a verse for you.
It's hard, y'all.
So 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, "And my people who are called by name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sins, and will heal their land." Mm-hmm. How amazing is that verse for right now? And so what God is telling us in that verse is that we are called we are culture setters. Mm-hmm. We are the ones that should be setting the tone. And so with that being said, we are supposed to be the ones to pray for non-believers, pray for other believers. We are supposed to be interceding on the behalf of one another, because if we are supposed to be like Christ, right? That's also in Colossians. We are being remade in his image. We are going to glory with him and all that. Then that means that Christ intercedes for us. He was the ultimate mediator for us. Therefore, we are supposed to do that for one another. And so
that's super emotional.
And so that's what I feel is happening in this moment, is that God is calling us together. And from this point, I believe that revival is coming. I believe that the church is going to rise to the occasion. I believe that all of the things that we second guess ourselves on and we're not moving in the way we should, I believe that the church is going to move in boldness. I'm proclaiming it. Yes. So I'm declaring it. So whether that was in the will of God or not, I am praying that is. Mm-hmm. And I just believe that that's what's happening right now. And it has given me such inspiration. And what it also has shown me is that I don't think things will ever be the same after this. I don't think that the world will ever be the same after this. Wow. And I hope we are never the same after this. Yeah. I hope that we can walk away from this. I hope that families are brought back together. I hope that children can look back in their memory, and what they see of this is that I had family time, and that we got to play games, and that when I was out of school for 3 months,
we made TikToks on TikToks.
So I am just praying for everyone that has been affected by this, and I want the people everyone who's been affected, for the people who are losing things, I want you to know that God is a restorer, that he will bring back everything that you have lost, and that restoration is coming, and that we count it all joy when we go through these trials, because we know that our faith is being matured, and we know that in the maturing of our faith, we have a testimony, and in that testimony, we can witness to other people. And there's this circular effect that happens where now the gospel is personal. It's being shared.
Because you know what's so important, and God spoke to me in the middle of you speaking. What's important is that life is but a vapor, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of this, all of us are going to spend eternity somewhere. And we have the choice. We're either going to spend eternity with him or without him.
Right.
And so the reason why we're saying this, the reason why we even came up with the purpose cooker, the reason why we are just so what's the word I'm looking for? The reason why we care so much about even sharing this, because we can keep it to ourselves, but the reason why we care so much about saying this is because we care about every single person. Right. I know I've had so many encounters with God, and I'm not going to go into the stories of them yet, but I've had so many encounters with God, and I know that each of us are going to get to the point where either we make it or we don't. We all spend an eternity somewhere. It's not like we just go in the dirt and just, no. Our souls spend an eternity somewhere. And I want each of us to spend eternity with him.
Right.
So we just wanted to bring this to you guys. Just share our insight on the coronavirus. Uplift you with Erica's beautiful prayers for you guys.
Yeah. And I am praying for you guys.
Yes.
I am taking this time to really seek the Lord more and allow him to really renew my mind and continue to take me deeper. And I'm praying, I really am praying that we all can figure out how to look at this with spiritual eyes. And I pray that you guys are able to look at this in that way and hear from God and see whatever it is that he's trying to reveal to you in this season. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to these lovely shirts that we have on. This is a Christian owned company.
The bottom of it.
Yeah, I know. Lexi, you can kind of show them. Yeah. So so this is a Christian owned company, and our aunt Gail. Hi, Gail. She got us these shirts because, you know, we are all about supporting Christian businesses. So we were really excited to sport these and wear these on our next video, which is now. If you are interested in supporting an amazing business, please be sure to check them out. We're going to have the website link in our bio, or actually description box.
Right.
And we'll also have it floating across the screen. But the name of the company is Sound Choices. Choose to make wise choices. Makesocho.com is the website. So that's makesocho.com. So yeah, check them out. Let them know that we sent you. This is a season of growth.
We go from glory to glory.
Yeah, this is a season of growth. So she's so crazy. It's been a pleasure, you guys. We will see you, and you'll hear from us on the next one.
Bye.